All right, welcome to see you on the show. I'm delighted to see Randy. I haven't seen Randy since a conference a couple of years ago. Glad to see you from Loan NFT. I was going to try to say your last name, but I was pretty sure I was going to mess it up, so I didn't try. And
Oh, you'd have
Lamont
gotten
Black
it.
from Filene and Wide Open Ventures. Welcome. Delighted to have you on the podcast today. We are going to talk about some very interesting things that you both are up to. So let's start by I always like to know, how did you get started in working with credit unions? What is your connection to this great movement? And what are you working on today?
Yeah, cool. I'll start. Doug, 25 years in the credit union movement now. Three credit unions, and this will be my third QSO, Loan NFT. I started off running call centers. I was in the service industry, and a friend had an opening at a credit union's call center that they were recruiting for. They'd never had a dedicated management team for that call center. Got involved with there, and then it was just off to the races. I've loved it ever since, and would just kept getting involved in other things. I've been a chief information officer for a credit union as well, and it's just really exciting to be involved in something that can help the credit union system. I have always felt this strong purpose and desire to give back to this system, this movement that has done so much for me and my family over the years and given us a good place to work. And I've just always looked for that thing that's going to help ensure the sustainability of the credit union system. So when Lamont called me, how could I refuse?
I've had plenty of people refuse me, Randy. Well, Doug, thanks for having us on the show. I'm Lamont Black. I'm in Chicago at DePaul University, but I've been working with credit unions for 4 years now. And it was Brian Knight, president of NASCUS, who first found me and connected me. So thank you to Brian. And did a event for the California Nevada League of Diane Dykstra. That was
Mhm.
my first credit union speaking event, and that one thing led to another. As you know, credit unions are very word of mouth. So did a bunch of board presentations. Originally, it was all crypto and this idea of offering Bitcoin to members. But 2 years ago, I joined Filene as one of their fellows. So my center is the Credit Union of the Future. So I do emerging technology. Right now, it's all AI and stable coins. And my company, Wide Open Ventures, we are both speaking and consulting. So AI adoption, working with executive teams and other leaders, adopting the technology across their organization. And now stable coins, how can credit unions prepare for this emerging payments future? And yeah, Loan NFT, working with Randy on launching this QSO for loan participations.
Man, that is a lot of stuff, all of which I want to talk about. Not well, we don't have enough time, so let's really go after the loan participations and see if we can do a good job of helping our listeners to understand what's going on there, what you're creating, the timeline, all that sort of thing. And then if we can go into some of the stable coin or other areas, those are also, I think, really critical issues. So, the when I've talked to other guests about stablecoin, the kind of onus is on that there's going to be some movement to these to DeFi rails. The payment and the credit union system has got to participate so it doesn't lose those assets from the system and those members, of course. Loan participations, very different direction. So help me out, Randy and Lamont. Like, why do we need to tokenize loan participations? What's the idea? What's in it for go?
So, yeah, it's kind of one of those deep things. It's kind of embedded in the back rooms of the credit unions, right? And there's not a lot of people that talk about it. It's your credit union finance people, your CFOs and your chief lending officers sometimes are involved in it. but it's such an important tool for credit unions to manage their balance sheets, right? There's all kinds of reasons that credit unions could want to use loan participations to improve their liquidity position,
Mhm.
for growth and earnings, and just to manage risk. If they have too much of a certain type of loan on their books, it's a good way for them to pool those loans together and reduce their concentration risk, and which of course the examiners like as well. So it's a really important piece of what they're doing, but it's really clunky because it's been buried in the back office for so long. Doesn't have great user interfaces. It's complicated and it takes a long time to do these. So it's a really, we feel, underutilized tool out there in the credit union system. And, we're aiming to make it easier so that more credit unions can use it and more credit unions can be strategic about how they use it.
Can you make it easier, faster, more transparent, and inexpensive? Is that too much to ask?
That's it, right? You hit them all. We're done.
And all those things are going to be powered by blockchain. So that's
Mhm.
the connection back to stable coins. That's a connection to tokenization. So, we've got a lot of providers in the loan participation market today. We've got the brokers, we've got third parties like Loan Street, but we believe the best technology for information sharing out there in the world today is blockchain. That's exactly what a secondary market is. You have the originator, you have the funder. How do they communicate? How do they share information about those loans? Blockchain is a shared ledger, so that's where you get all those features: transparency, speed, communication, all of that, cost. So, yeah, LoanNFT is a QSO we're launching to bring these services to the loan participation market, and we think it's going to be the killer app.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so uh, this is it correct to say that there is no tokenized form of loan participations in the credit union movement yet? This
Yes,
is.
I think that's totally fair to say. So this is an idea that we launched out of the Filene Lab several years ago. We've been working on this for 3 years now. There's a lot of other people in the space talking about
Mhm.
blockchain. It goes all the way back to like CU Ledger, which then became Bonify, which was now owned by Metallicus. And so there's been work in the blockchain space, but we believe we're the first ones to really plant a flag in the ground, say, hey, loan participations, this is the right application for this technology. So, yeah, we're the ones bringing it to market.
Yeah, it seems like one where you could create a much more, I think it in the way of public markets, the bid ask spread between the value of the loan participation and the amount you get for it. I bet you could really collapse that by increasing transparency. Is that what you're thinking is going to occur?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll take a quick crack on
go
that. And
for it.
then, Randy, if you want to add, that's really where a bid-ask spread comes from, is information asymmetry,
Hmm.
buyers and sellers, and trying to evaluate what is the price for any given asset. So you're right. That's what a shared ledger does. It brings the transparency, so then they're better able to negotiate on terms. Everybody's, reading off the same sheet of music, if you will. And so Randy could say more about the platform, but it's like a data interface between buyers and sellers. So that transparency is going to get you to close that much faster.
And it's going to allow them to interact directly. There's not going to be any kind of intermediary in between them, not even us. So Credit Union A is going to post loan participation pool. Credit Union B, C, and D can all bid on pieces of that pool or the whole pool. And all of those bids are going back and forth directly between the buyer and the seller so that they can negotiate minute points in there. So it's full transparency on the bid process as well, which really speeds things up too. There's a little bit less verification when you have that kind of trust.
Hmm. Hmm. So how will you do this? I'm very uninitiated. Like, what's the process? I know you're raising money. So talk to our listeners about that. Like you've identified an amount you're going to raise, the organizational structure is going to be a QSO. lead us through it. What's going to happen? And then once you have the funding, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, so we're in the middle of our seed round. We're doing a $2 million raise over the next couple of months. I've been working on it for about a month with pitching these ideas to credit unions. This is going to allow probably about 15 to 20 participating credit unions and organizations to have first opportunity to convert that into equity in the QSO. This will allow us to operationalize the platform. We landed on 2 million because we're simply trying to cover operating costs. We've got a lot of upfront costs in our talent, in our technology, and having it more go to market. The product is out there. It was already tested through the filing lab. It's working, but it's working to a point where it's it's a letter of intent that goes back and forth between the credit unions to sign once the deal has been reached, and it's uploading manually the loan pools into their
Hold on,
hardware
we got to
cores.
unpack that. That's really interesting. So it's already started to work.
The
Yeah, I
functioning
can.
platform is already there. Lamont can talk a little bit more about that since they were doing it through the filing lab.
Yeah, I can speak. I mean, we've got a blockchain development team that built a smart contract to issue the tokens, and those tokens are representations of the loans. So if any of your listeners are familiar with stable coins are like the tokenization of money. One token for $1. This is the tokenization of loans. One token, one loan. And so all that data is now represented by that token. There's a thumbprint on the token called a hash. And so that's where you get the verification. All that information is secure. It's the information itself is off chain, so it's not like we're making that public. But the ledger is what's public. So now we are minting these tokens under the issuer, and then you have other credit unions bidding on those loans now represented as tokens. So tokenization only has value for information sharing, which is a point you had made earlier. So we're not kind of leading with blockchain. We're not doing this because of blockchain. It is a business problem. You have all these frictions in the loan participation market. This is just the best solution for those frictions.
So how hard is that? Like if you have a pool
About
of
three
loans.
years hard, Doug.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I'm
how hard
thinking
it
it
is.
sounds big, right? It sounds big. You have a pool of hundreds or thousands of loans. How do you tokenize? What's the process of turning it in one loan, one token if there's 1,000 loans? How does that work?
There are so many nuggets
Do I
and
not
kind
want to
of
know?
tips and tricks, but I'll give you one phrase, batch minting. So we're not doing this. There's no point and click like we're going to mint loan A and loan B. In our smart contract, we have the ability to batch mint an entire pool of loans. Our goal, once, as Randy said, to operationalize this is to connect that smart contract directly to the loan origination system through an API. So now we can mint these loan tokens directly off the core.
And then as we build out the platform, we want to build in the bells and whistles and the things that will solve those problems for credit unions, things that I've seen working at my credit unions. One of the reasons that people go to the brokers is for help in pricing the loan
Mhm.
pools.
Yep.
They may be a very experienced finance person at their credit union, but they may not have the market experience to know what they should price that loan for and what other comparable pools are being priced at, or may not have the transparency to understand whether that's really the right price for their pool. We're building in an AI engine that will, in natural language, tell it what kind of pool you want to create, how you want that pool to look, and then it'll go out and create that pool, and it'll give you an output sheet that we've already created some mock-ups of what this visualization will look like. And it will tell you why it created the pool the way it did, why it priced it the way it did, how it compares to other pools that are in the LoanNFT platform, so that you can make a really confident decision in posting that pool up for purchase.
Even if as a credit union, you never participate in buying a pool, right? You don't need to. If this, um, if Loan NFT would provide better pricing to your credit union for what you need to sell, then that's a win, right?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I know credit unions that have extremely robust indirect lending programs for their auto loans. They
Mhm.
have extremely robust mortgage programs. Now, there are some other markets for selling their mortgages on the secondary market, but they have to be
Yeah.
conforming to certain standards if they want it to be easy to sell them. You could pool those loans on a regular recurring basis with a product like Loan NFT. So you could do monthly or quarterly sells to continue to manage your liquidity on a real-time basis. You can post smaller pools than you've had to post in the past, so that you can change your strategy on the fly.
Yeah, the vision is really like making balance sheet management more efficient. Like
Hmm.
when you have this highly functional secondary market, whether it's liquidity, growth, or risk, moving those loans off balance sheet, back on balance sheet, whatever your target or your strategy is, we make that easy. And so it's, the speed to market, it's the low cost, it's also the ease of reporting. We've heard a lot of credit unions, they get frustrated both on the buy side and the sell side because there's so much communication back and forth, the spreadsheets, the emails, the lack of standards. And so if we can streamline all of that, which we've already built in this minimum viable product, now it's like just a pipeline moving funding across the industry. So Doug, I know you're passionate about the credit union industry. This is like, if we can get this right, then it's going to expand lending capacity to members. So now I don't have to throttle back on a loan program because I'm running into liquidity or capital constraints. We've got, think of it's like a big communal solution for the credit union industry for resource allocation. That's how we view the secondary market. And Randy, I know you've got some personal
Yeah.
experience with that.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things I'll say regarding that. One, there are a couple of other solutions that have been started and stopped in the system, not using this technology, not using blockchain, but in a one-to-many kind of situation. One credit union had an opportunity to really crank through a ton of loans, and they need to just sell this. This is a many-to-many kind of a system where there are many credit unions selling and many credit unions buying. And we've looked at institutional participants as well so that we continue to keep those pipelines open. Um, what Lamont says about it enabling the primary lending market to continue functioning is so true. I've been around credit unions that have had to put the brakes on extremely robust indirect lending programs for months at a time because they exceeded a policy-based liquidity cap. It wasn't that they actually didn't have liquidity. They could have, and it was at a time in the economy when they could have borrowed the money for next to nothing as well. But the board of this credit union didn't have an appetite for borrowing, regardless of the cost. That was just not how they did business in their market. And so they put the brakes on an indirect lending program. And I don't know if anyone has ever tried to restart those kinds of things after you stop them and after you
Mm.
throttle back. Dealerships in particular, they don't want to do a lot of extra work for those loans. While we have great tools that are, feeding those things through, like Route One and Dealer Track, interfacing those into our credit union systems and our lending origination systems, so we can decision those loans. They want that fast. They've got somebody sitting there at the dealership. I once heard a credit union say, "We have the description of indirect lending backwards. To a member, that's direct lending." They go out and they're getting their loan directly at the dealership with whomever they want that loan to go through. But to us, we call it indirect lending, right? So
Yeah, I
Loan
mean,
NFT is going to allow people to manage their liquidity, among other things, on a regular basis and on a very specific basis, only getting what they need, versus some other investments that they may have to tie up for long periods of time.
so how does it get to so you're gonna spend a couple of months raising money? Is there an anchor credit union or two involved that you can talk about?
Yeah, so we've got probably about 20 credit unions in the pipeline at various stages of
Ah,
this. We not have a firm commitment yet on one of those, but believe we're getting pretty close on a couple. We anticipate once we get the first couple of checks in, the round is probably going to close out pretty quickly in a couple of months.
okay.
Yeah, we've been working with credit unions from the very beginning. That's part of how the filing lab is structured. That's the beauty of those interactions. So, like Chartway, MSU, FCU, some of those large credit unions that are known across the industry, they were involved in that pilot and have continued to give us input. We had other credit unions that have joined. Members First has been an incredible contributor to this. But as Randy said, we are pitching this right now. We're doing one or two of these pitches a week. We anticipate over these next few weeks and months to start, building these partnerships. So that's part of why we wanted to be on the show with you, Doug, is to get that word out and just let people know that this is real and it's something that we're bringing to market.
And
So
we're trying to
you,
get a lot of, sorry, Doug, we're trying to get a lot of participate. We want it, ideally 15 to 20 partners at this stage, because we're going to form an advisory committee from that group, make it a little easier. But this is not a project for these credit unions. That project work has already been done in the filing lab. This is really an opportunity for credit unions to get involved in this new system early to help shape some of the direction of it without a lot of time commitment on their part, and to have an opportunity to be a part of the QSO later in that. But we're starting this investment because we're only looking for $2 million. We're able to allow some credit unions to buy into this as low as $25,000. That's unheard of in some of these raises that are happening out there with the various QSOs and other organizations. So we really, because Loan NFT, while it benefits all credit unions, it benefits small credit unions in particular. We really wanted to allow some of the smaller credit unions, not the $10 billion behemoths, to get involved in this, and have as much participation as possible.
so what will be the sort of the build timeline? And again, we all know you don't know for sure, of like what will be the first product do you think that will be, or market? I know product might not be the right word,
Yeah.
that a credit union will be able to participate in. And then what do you think the first method of participation? Is it buying? Is it selling? What do you think?
Yeah, it's both at the same time. Buying and selling will be available at the same time on the platform, and it's auto loans. That's what it's already been built for.
Okay.
That's the most homogeneous loan product we have out there for the most part, and it's what typically most credit unions use when they're buying or selling loan pools today. So we wanted to start with something familiar, and then we'll quickly build, by the end of this year, early beginning of next year, into other products that the credit unions can also create
So
participation.
if you're going to sell a loan pool right now and you have a long established relationship with the broker, you could still go to that broker and get a bid, and you could also
Sure.
come to you guys and also get a bid. Is that how you would do it?
You could.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they can post the pool on the platform. We've already built that. And then, we've got the bidding process for the buyers. So, yeah, our goal is to run a live transaction on the platform sometime within the first half of this year. And so we just need a seller who's willing to, trust the process and work with the platform and bring that to market through us. And then we're collecting the buy side to get enough liquidity. And any market takes some time to get off the ground, but we've already demonstrated on the technical side that this works. And so now we just have to prove it with a live transaction.
Mhm. Yeah, several of them, ideally, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Me, and
Yeah.
Randy are going to get a car loan. We're going to prove it, right?
Pull them together and
Well, yeah, we need a pool, but we've got several credit unions that are active sellers that we're in communication with. And so I think if we get one of the partner credit unions on the sell side, that's going to then really accelerate this process.
Mhm. And so you start out with auto loans, and obviously there's a ton of ability to go up market with auto loans. And is that what you stay with all the way through 26? Are you going to add additional pools quickly?
I think we'll be adding pools quickly. It may not be that, like Lamont said, the first half of the year is when we want to get our first transactions going on there. So it may not be third quarter, but by the end of the year, I could see, offering another one. It really is going to depend on the credit unions and what they want to do. So we're kind of co-creating this market for them and to try to, again, make this easier. What's the next best loan type for us to operationalize for them that would lift a big headache off of their plate for managing this? So I think there's probably some opportunities around commercial. There's probably some opportunities around mortgages, even though there are some secondary markets for mortgages if they're conforming already. And we've gone all the way from, we know a lot of credit unions are doing CDFI grants. And so they're getting these grants to be able to lend to more low income members. It may not be a different loan type so much as it's a different loan risk. So a credit union that wanted to offer more lending to their what's called C and D paper, right? The people
Mhm.
with lower credit scores. A credit union often gets a CDFI grant so that they can use those funds to absorb some of the risk. But what if they didn't have to do that? What if they could use our platform to pull together some of their lower credit score loans and then price it appropriately for the risk? And then a credit union that's in a different part of the country or has a different risk appetite policy, they might be willing to buy that pool of loans or participate in a portion of that pool of loans because they can accept more risk and they don't have those kind of loans on their books. And they know the margin is better for them on those. All the credit unions I've been at, A and B paper all day long. 750, 800 FICO scores, that's kind of churning through. Those margins are extremely thin because those people can go anywhere and get a loan. So it's highly competitive and it's really thin. And frankly, if you talk about serving our purpose, it's not necessarily doing it just for those members. It's doing it more for the members that struggle to get a fair rate on their loans. And so this will allow credit unions to offer a fair rate on those kind of loans to more people in their community and really make a difference in people's lives and then still minimize the risk to their own credit union.
Yeah,
Because
if
you
we
can.
can demonstrate success in existing secondary markets, like auto loans, non-conforming mortgage, consumer, and so on, then the dream for loan NFT is like, can we create secondary markets where they do not currently exist? So then we're really going to amplify impact on the primary side if we are creating liquidity and risk management on the secondary side. And that's where like this is really just like the credit union movement. It's not just about how do we do things more efficiently or a little bit faster. It's really how do we impact member credit availability. That's how I would view this.
There's a lot there. So, when I kind of try to understand how this might drive down cost, one of the things that always drives down cost is more competition. And so, will you? Obviously you're at the building stage. You got these foundational credit unions that'll be involved in the QSO, and I assume initially everything probably stays in that group as you're getting the systems worked out. And then do you imagine that you would make the loan pools that are available like public on a website where commercial players could bid and potentially create more efficiency? Are you going to keep it just to the QSO members or keep it just to the credit union movement? How's it going to work?
Yeah, I'll take a crack at that. So, like you said, we're going to work with our friendliest partners. We're going to get this thing off the ground. That's why we're looking for early investors who want to help build it with us. But then we will gradually expand it. We've got data from the call reports showing that, like, of the credit unions participating in loan participations, only about like a quarter of them are using it actively. We think we can expand that number, bring it, as Randy said, making it more accessible for smaller credit unions,
Mhm.
for the larger credit unions, making it easier to use it on a more frequent basis. But your last point about how do we expand access beyond the credit union industry, I think is a great one. So it is a platform. There will be a subscription. It's a marketplace. And so, it's not going to be just like an open website. We're going to be
Mhm.
trying to invite people to use this as a marketplace, but we do want to bring in those non-credit union investors for that liquidity purpose. So as you
Mhm.
think about the loan participation market, one concern I've heard from credit union executives is that industry liquidity tends to rise and fall together. And so you
Yeah.
either have a lot of sellers or a lot of buyers. And in particular, in those periods where we have a lot of sellers but not enough buyers, if we can connect to like an investment bank or other type of, capital fund who would be interested in buying these loan pools, and now they have a platform where all the reporting is taken care of for them, it's all standardized, they don't have to get in there and do all the things in the weeds. Like that's where I think we really unlock the potential for the credit unions.
Very much. I really love what Randy said about the smaller credit unions because they're not participating, I would think, at all in loan participations. And if you guys can get this off the ground and have it be understandable and actionable by smaller management teams, you can help the credit union movement serve the underserved even better.
Absolutely.
Those are some of the credit unions that can have a harder time, managing growth. They either don't have enough loan demand, so then they have to look elsewhere. If we can make like the ability to fund a pool with a lower entry point, so then it's easier for them to, get in with smaller dollar amounts. Also, if they have like concentration risk, making it easier for them to start spreading that out to some of their peers. I just think like from an industry perspective, not just growth, but also risk management. Like credit unions are so collaborative, they're all cooperatives. This is like a tool to cooperate on risk management across the industry.
So you're building it, and let's see, we'll go to GAC, we'll see each other, we'll high five, and then maybe we'll check in because there's nothing credit unions like more than the stories of credit union successes, things that worked. And I want you guys. I think this is fantastic. I'm thrilled that you're doing this for the credit union movement. I want you to be successful, get some stories of here's a credit union that came and participated in the QSO, and they solved this problem with Loan NFT. And if we can have that credit union join us on the podcast, let's come back and do this again when it's operational and talk about the difference you're making for the movement and more importantly for the membership.
That'd be
Yeah, I would
awesome.
love that.
Looking
So,
forward to it.
any final thoughts for our listeners at this stage? This obviously you guys are trying to raise. So, anything else you want to say to our listeners about where they should go to learn more, what to follow, to watch, to be plugged into what Loan NFT is doing and going to do?
Website will be up this month, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The LoanNFT.org will be active. You can reach me directly at randy@loannft.org. We can schedule a one-on-one to just learn a little bit more about it. We have some materials we can send people, or if a credit union is ready, we can schedule a full pitch and go through the whole process for them and show them everything that's
Are you going to have a
involved.
booth at GAC? Or are you going to have any breakouts at GAC?
We're not going to have a booth at GAC, but we're intending to have some at some of the other conferences and doing some of the podcasts like this to get the word out. I will be at GAC, so scheduling some one-on-ones and walking around and talking and making sure that people are aware of what we have available. And then, yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, and people can find me, lamontblack.com. Wide Open Ventures, my company, is launching Loan NFT. And so if you're interested or curious, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to show you the demo. We'd love to pitch to you if you're interested in participating in our seed round. So you can find all my contact information there. We'd love to have that conversation.
Well, Randy Stolp and Lamont Black, thank you so much for joining me today. I love what you are into. We're going to have you back and we're going to share some more details on how the system is working, how credit unions can participate, and maybe sort of show you how it works with a demo in the future. So thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.